Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our annual Internship and Job Fair hosted by the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. My name is Sarah Hayes. I am the Director of Innovation and Workforce Development. So if you're not completely familiar with what CCI is, I'm just going to give you a real quick rundown, and then I'm going to introduce our panelists for this morning. CCI is a cybersecurity consortia comprising 42 public colleges and universities across the state of Virginia. We have a common mission of making Virginia a global leader of cybersecurity research and education. And so we do that through three different mission lines. The first is research, so cutting edge and exciting research in cybersecurity and cyber adjacent technologies. The second is workforce development, which is kind of what brings us here together today, creating opportunities for students while they're enrolled to gain meaningful work experiences so that when they graduate, they are more hireable. And then finally, innovation and commercialization, where we support faculty and students that are interested in commercializing their research. So today for our internship fair, I am joined by two guests for our panel. And after the panel is done, then we will move into kind of the virtual fair portion of the day, where students can talk to recruiters that have set up booths, virtual booths, kind of all across the Brazen platform here. So first, let me introduce Brian Harris, our Talent Acquisition Executive Director for CACI. He is a Talent Acquisition Executive Director, for CACI's National Security and Innovative Solutions sector. He has a passion for helping connect great talent to great opportunities. Brian has been in the human resources and talent acquisition field for 18 years and has led recruiting teams, hiring thousands of interns, college graduates, and professionals into CACI and the national security industry. I'm also joined by Holly Palmer, the Assistant Director of Talent Acquisition for Expedition Technology. Ms. Palmer holds a BA in Communication and English and an MS in Organizational Development with a Human Resources Management concentration from Canisius University in Buffalo, New York. I don't think I said that right. She has over 20 years expertise in talent acquisition, focused on technical recruiting for skill sets ranging from help desk to systems administration to artificial intelligence. She's a consultative professional who works closely with her clients and candidates to find the best fit. So good morning to you both. Thank you for joining us. And if you would maybe tell us just a little bit more than I have given in your bio about yourselves and kind of what your organization does. Holly, we'll start with you.
Sure. So Expedition Technology is a medium-sized and rapidly growing organization. We're headquartered in Herndon, Virginia, and I would call us more cyber adjacent than actually cybersecurity. But what we do is we are applying machine learning. You might also call it artificial intelligence, and those types of technologies to problems within signal processing, so like RF signal processing and also image processing. And we're both research and development, so we work with clients across the DoD and the intelligence community to basically fulfill the needs that they're looking for on various proposals and deliver them a prototype or a product of something that hasn't been done before. We're very much at the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, in artificial intelligence, and a lot of our technologies are applicable to cybersecurity. For example, if we can fingerprint signals as they're emanating from devices, we can tell if someone's trying to clone a router that then might be used to access a network nefariously, and things of that nature. And that's good. Good summary. Brian?
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So thank you, Sarah. Thanks to really everybody wonderful virtual.
Brian, we're having a hard time hearing you. Your connection's a little spotty there.
Okay, how's the audio now? Is better?
That's better. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to figure out the video here. I had some technical difficulties this morning, but just wanted to say thanks for having me. So just a little bit about my background. I've worked for CACI now for 18 years. I have been in the human resources background, primarily within talent acquisition. I lead a team of about 30 recruiters here at CACI, have a passion for helping connect others to opportunities ranging from internships to college graduates to transitioning officers out of the military. So at CACI, we similar. We are a national security company, so we provide expertise and technology to enterprise and mission customers, really across the DoD, the intelligence community, and the federal civilian markets to solve some of the nation's toughest challenges. So been a wonderful experience, wonderful organization, and excited to be with you all today.
Great, thanks, Brian. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to ask a set of questions here, and then we will leave time at the end for any Q&A from students. You can put those questions into the discussion tab on Brazen. If you write that in there, then we'll get to those here at the end. All right, so I'm going to jump right in. We'll start with Holly. Applying for jobs and internships can be an overwhelming process. What advice would you give students applying for their first job or internship?
Yeah, so as basically head of the internship program here at Expedition Technology, I can tell you firsthand that there are a lot of eager applicants and eager students, which is wonderful to see. It can be hard to stand out from the crowd, so to speak. For example, we have 3 different internship positions posted right now on our careers website. So go ahead and apply. Last year, we had over 1,000 applicants for these positions. So it's definitely hard to get noticed. One of the best ways or the best strategies you can take to get yourself noticed is get involved in organizations at your school, at your institution, even if you volunteer, and list those organizations on your resumes, because we look for involvement in clubs possibly that are related to what we do. We're looking for people who are maybe involved in electrical engineering societies, any kind of activity that relates to what you want to be involved in, in terms of a full-time position. That helps us as talent acquisition professionals to see really how serious you are about this type of work. And that definitely helps us when it comes to down selecting people that we want to talk with further.
Thank you. We're going to stick with you, Holly, because I think Brian is having some connectivity issues here. You talked about how many applicants you have and standing out and how difficult that could be. Are there any certifications that also make students stand out right out of graduation?
So I can't really speak for specifically cybersecurity in this. Brian might be better able to handle that question. But in general, certifications are great. It's hard to apply that sometimes to hands-on experience. So while I definitely encourage people to get certifications, the best thing you can do is get some hands-on experience, whether it be through an internship or, as I said, volunteer positions. There's also times I see a question that Greg has put into the chat, and there might be opportunities that you can even develop projects or programs on your own and work through it on your own, and then be able to articulate that on a resume, and that will help us see the type of experience that you have.
Great, thanks, Holly. Brian's back with us. So I'm going to shoot the next question over to you, Brian. What skills are essential for success in this career field, specifically soft versus hard skills?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did want to piggyback a little bit on Holly's, one of her questions there. Just to kind of start there. So I think in terms of overall, I would say just have a plan in place. When I talk to prospective candidates into the organization, it really varies. Some are just starting off with their, how are they going to go about their job search process? What are some questions that you may have? Others are much more advanced in their job search process. So my big tip there is have a plan. Make sure that you have a mentor or someone that's in the recruiting profession like myself or Holly, who you can ask questions on what to expect as you're looking for an opportunity. Specific to the type of soft skills, while a lot of our opportunities certainly have a lot of technical requirements, the soft skills are as equally as critical. Adaptability, flexibility. We look for individuals with strong academic success and an energy for learning. I think, being able to come into a team, work, have great teamwork, applying problem solving attributes, and, leveraging your critical thinking. Really the teamwork is a big component of it. And, when you're coming into an internship or a full-time role, entry-level role, there's so much learning to still be had. So, leveraging all opportunities that you have to learn and be a sponge and, are really the type of skills that we look for.
Great, thank you. I'll ask both of you to chime in on this one. What future do you see for the job market in this career? Or what trends do you see developing over the next few years?
I think for the tech industry in general, there's when it comes to technical skills that are going to be needed in now and in the future years, because everything is moving to technology. We have more and more information that we're sharing over networks that need to be secure. For example, you've got stocks, you've got banks, you've got Amazons, you've got, all of these online global marketplaces and global businesses that need to keep their information and your information safe. And so in terms of cybersecurity, I definitely, see the market for those types of skills in addition to, software engineering, because everything is related. When I think of cybersecurity, I think more of the network administration, the firewall maintenance, like all of that, but also going in addition to that, you're looking at software engineers to make the applications themselves secure. So everything works together in a whole ecosystem. And I see nothing but bright future for cybersecurity in general, and specifically in the Northern Virginia area. We have so much industry here, so much government work that I see a lot of call for this for many, many years to come.
Thanks, Holly. Brian?
Yeah, that was a great share that cyber threats remain a concern. It is very much in hot demand. I think I read recently that there's north of 3.5 million jobs and growing. So this is a market where across many industries, notably national security, cybersecurity has been and it continues to be a much needed area of workers and talent shortage. So I think leveraging your academic backgrounds, internships, and experiences, along with starting to really understand, fundamentals of IT, starting to get exposed to different, areas of coding and networking and cloud security. All these types of backgrounds and areas, I think you are very well positioned for a career in cybersecurity.
Great, thanks. Brian, I'm going to stick with you here for a second. And this is something that almost always typically comes up, and I will do a shameless plug here. The CCI has a clearance preparedness program, which is 10 online modules. We had our September module yesterday. If you want to join us for the October one, it's October 25th at noon. You can register on our website. And if you want to check out any of the ones that we've done in the past, they're all on our YouTube channel. We've been talking about what it means to get a security clearance. Why would you want one? Why would you maybe not want one? What are some barriers to getting one? And so something that we often hear about is how our security clearance is provisioned. So Brian, maybe you could chime in on this. Do companies provide security clearances for interns or only employees? And if someone doesn't want a security clearance, will not attaining a security clearance hurt them landing a job in the future in cybersecurity?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. Great question. So for context, at CACI, we have 22,000 employees, and around about 75% of our employees have security clearances. So that gives you kind of a feel for, the answer that there are positions that don't require clearances. Clearances can vary. They range from, different levels of access. Different customer agencies have different levels, ranging from a extensive background check all the way through the intelligence community will require a polygraph. So I think that for our internship program at CACI, we have over 300 interns every summer. And approximately 85 to 90% of our interns are offered to come back to CACI either as a returning intern or as a full-time employee. And so, how it works internally is that, we have different government contracts or programs where we have the ability, not all programs are customers, but many of them, where we have the ability to put individuals in for sponsorship for a clearance. Now, the requirements of that vary depending on what government customer and agency you're supporting. But typically, it would require U.S. citizenship, a clean criminal background, financial background, etc. But for our interns, we put many of them in for clearances, sometimes before they even graduate, so that the timing of when, rising into your senior year, you would get a full-time offer to join the company full-time. We would start your security clearance processing. And then you'd be able to start your career in the national security industry. Now, on the other side of that, I think what I would really recommend is that as you look at job descriptions across, CACI or other organizations, pay really close attention to the verbiage in the job description. Some will say that no clearance is required. Others will say that a no clearance is required, but look for soft words like you must be able to obtain a secret, must be able to pass a DOJ background investigation. Those are things suggesting that while you may not need it immediately, you need to be aware that that's going to be a contingency of employment. And then there's others that are going to have very hard words like must have, immediate clearance required. And so those are the roles that if you don't have a clearance right away, then unfortunately, based off of the contract with the government, it's a requirement. So, Sarah, that was a long answer. I could go a lot of ways with that, but I really think a lot of it just comes down to communication and understanding what you're looking for, what the requirement of the jobs are. There are many jobs that don't require it. There's a lot that do. And if you're getting stuck, back to finding a mentor or somebody who you can talk to that can really help champion your questions.
Thanks. Holly, would you like to pipe in on that one?
Yeah, I would, Brian. That was a great answer. And I'd like to maybe add a little bit as well that for Expedition Technology in general, first of all, just a reminder that Expedition Technology is much smaller than CACI. We have about 90 full-time employees, so our scale is much smaller. Because we are specifically only working in the DoD and the intelligence community, everyone here has to be eligible for a U.S. government issued background or security clearance of top secret or higher. We do clear our interns. Most of the time we have work for our internships that don't require the clearance because we kind of have to have that going in, but we will put interns through the clearance process. And just like Brian said, ideally we will make return offers to our interns, and we would have them already be cleared by the time they start their career with us. One thing that I want to throw out there, Brian mentioned earlier a clear background check, meaning like a clear criminal history. One thing that is probably not going to go over well with people, but I feel like I have to tell you this as a PSA. Smoking marijuana is legal in some states, but it is not legal federally. And if you are going to continue to smoke marijuana or use marijuana, that will have to be revealed in a background investigation, and that could prevent you from getting security clearance. So I don't want to put gloom and doom on all of this, but it's just a public service announcement because a lot of people don't realize this. There is a differentiation between being legal federally and being legal wherever you're located. Yeah, so that's the end of my soapbox speech.
I appreciate it, Holly. And like I said, we have several modules on our YouTube channel that go into great detail about the security clearance process, the different types of security clearances, what it looks like, some of the things that would be barriers to that. So if you are interested in the security clearance process, I encourage you to take a look at those posted webinars. And then, of course, to join us on October 25th. We've also been talking to a few people who have worked both in industry and in government with security clearances and what those kinds of jobs look like, and what that's allowed them to do. As well as with people who said, there's things that you can do without a security clearance. It's not the only way to work in cybersecurity. But as we're seeing in some of the comments, and as you both have mentioned, there are several positions, right, where a security clearance is required, and there are different levels to that. And so I think the biggest thing that we could probably take away here is back to what Brian was saying, is that maybe find somebody that you can ask these questions of to get clarification if you're unsure when you're looking at the job description. Do I really qualify or don't I? And I'll also put this out there: the SF-86 is the form that starts the entire clearance process. You can Google that. You can see what those questions look like online. So if you want to take a sneak peek before you start going down that road, you can always take a look at that form and know that you need to answer it honestly. The biggest thing about a clearance process is that you must be honest, 100% honest, right? So take a look at that form. If you can't answer it honestly, you might want to rethink some things. All right. I know there's a lot of questions about clearances, and we'll get to some of the questions in the chat after we've gone through a couple of more of these questions here. So this is a question about the different types of opportunities in cybersecurity. We see a lot that are maybe heavily technical or operational. And there's going to be a lot of people who are joining us here today and who are interested in cybersecurity who maybe aren't engineers or aren't computer scientists. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the diversity within cybersecurity careers, technical versus operational or otherwise? Holly, we'll start with you this time.
This is actually a tougher one for me to answer because cybersecurity is not my area of concentration in terms of what we hire for at Expedition Technology. I can say that in general, there's definitely a differentiation between more the operations side and the technical side. And there's certainly opportunities for both skill sets in the workforce. Because we are a smaller company, we're much more focused on the technical right now. And as we grow, we'll have more of a need for the operational end of things. And to that end, if you're looking more on the operations side, having some knowledge of like a business background, like being able to look at data and being able to figure out where your holes are in maybe your cybersecurity team. What are you lacking in your team? What do you need to bring on board in order to make your solution successful? From more of a management leadership standpoint rather than from someone who is hands-on keyboard and technical. Brian, I'm going to toss this to you because I think you probably have more experience than I do in this particular area.
No, you did wonderful, Holly. Thanks for that. So I'll do my best as well. Um, so I would say specific to CACI, where we see more kind of the operations or kind of more of the non engineering side, types of jobs we'll see as information security analysts, incident analysts or responders. We do have multiple markets at our organization. So one of our markets is really on the enterprise IT side. So that this covers cloud technology and infrastructure, enterprise IT solutions, network analysis and tools. And so what we find is a lot of our employees will come in, and while they may be more on the operations side or more on the IT side, if you will, it's a career, not a job. And so that's where a lot of the, once you work at an organization, you really want to learn, what are the training opportunities within your organization. As an example, we have a thing called CACI Virtual University, where we have over 200,000 plus learning resources and 50 plus certification paths. And so that kind of journey of learning is a career-long thing where you're continuing to grow in your technical capabilities, your certifications, your experience, which leads to different career paths. The majority of our opportunities really fall in the, I would say, the red team penetration testing side of things. Really looking for backgrounds in coding, networking, malware analysis, cloud security. So the types of roles we're looking for individuals are, do you want to be a part of capture the flag challenges? Do you have development experience in Java or Python or C or C++ or C#? So there's a wide gambit of opportunities, both on the operational and engineering side. We do both, but we tend to be more on the defensive, offensive side of national security for cyber.
Great, thank you. I have to also say, my husband is in sales, but he sells cybersecurity technology to the federal government. So he will tell you he is in sales. Other people might say he's in cyber. He has to understand cyber, but he is not an operator, right? He is not an engineer. He works with engineers, but he needs to know enough to be able to sell it. But that's his, that's his strength. And he will tell people, "Oh, my wife is in cybersecurity. I am in project management. I need to know enough about cybersecurity in order to do my job, but I do not have an engineering background or a computer science background. I have a project management background." So I would say, there's a lot of diversity within the field. And if we look at cybersecurity as a business problem rather than just a technological one, then we can really see a lot of opportunity for a wide variety of majors or backgrounds to come into the field. Okay, another question. Going to ask a little bit about your position specifically, and when you're hiring, if you have seen or if you've come across people who you've recruited, you've hired, you've gone through that process with, is there something that in their journey to get to that position that really was an advantage to them or really helped them, that would be a big piece of advice that you could give to the students here today? Holly?
So I will circle back on what I mentioned earlier, that when we're looking at resumes, and I know Brian can attest to this too, it's very hard to get a good picture of someone just off a piece of paper, or in this case, off a computer screen. So the best way to help yourself and indicate to us that you have the background that we're looking for is not only attending school or some certification program or something like that, but getting involved in activities outside that area. like join hackathons, for example, participate in those. Join, a lot of schools have robotics clubs. You could join robotics challenge. Some schools have like activities where they're funded by NASA or something like, or an organization like that, where you are performing research and development as a student and facing these problems as a student that you would normally face in industry as well, and showing that you are interested in that and committed to that is very helpful to us, because it shows us that not only you have gone to the classes in your school or certificate program, but you've been able to apply that technology hands-on in another arena. There are also opportunities for research assistantships at a lot of colleges and schools. So you could look for those as well, where you work with a professor, or even you could work with someone who is pursuing their PhD degree and they're doing research and you're helping support them with doing that related research. And the other thing is, if you haven't had exposure to those particular types of opportunities, it helps at least to list courses that you've taken. And when you do that, list the courses that you have been most interested in, that you feel that you are, more interested and more passionate about than maybe another course. Like maybe you're more interested in algorithm design than you are in English composition, for example. Those are extreme, but you get the idea. And that the listing of those courses that you enjoyed and you're calling out specifically on your resume, that can help us know that you're someone who has the right background educationally, but also the right attitude in terms of soft skills as well to succeed in this industry.
Thanks, Holly. Brian, would you like to chime in on that one?
Absolutely. So I think when it comes to standing out, and Holly did a great job of kind of covering some of the backgrounds and information, that really helps from assessing, each individual. I really want to talk about two things, kind of the referrals and networking, and follow through. So I'll start with follow through. So, today you're going to engage and meet different employers virtually. If that were to be an in-person event, either way, they can both be overwhelming. They can be, a lot of different, it can just be overwhelming. So, one of your objectives would really be to find individuals like myself or Holly or other recruiting professionals or other hiring managers who you can start to develop a relationship with and be able to have questions, even if it's a simple email that says, "It was a really pleasure meeting you today. Thank you for the time."
Oops. Brian, you muted yourself on accident.
All right. Sorry. Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, perfect. So follow through. So and that goes all the way to when you're interviewing with an individual, you had an initial phone screen, just, you don't want to be too pushy, but really stand out by actually following.
Brian, you've muted yourself again.
Sorry, Sarah, I'm on my cell phone, and when somebody calls, throw. So when I go to these job fairs, there may be 100 individuals I meet. I tell them all to follow up with me after the event. Perhaps 2 or 3 students do. So, really that follow through is really important. The other part, it would be referrals. So great talent knows great talent. 40% of our hires come from referrals. So if you start kind of thinking about that from a networking perspective, when you start looking for jobs, who do you know that works at that organization? Do you know somebody that knows somebody that works at that organization? And that's where you can really leverage LinkedIn as an example of who are your first connections, who are your second connections. even if you don't have a first or second connection, type in the type in the company name and put recruiter next to it. There's going to be folks that come up, start making an introduction. So while you need to stay encouraged and persistent with the application process, more hires come through referrals. And so the networking piece, I could talk a long time about that to you all, but I can't overstress how important it is to not only cultivate your organic referral, kind of who you know, but to start really being aggressive with that, and with the kind of the virtual LinkedIn side of it, and those types of things. If I have 100 applications in my inbox and in a database that I have to go through as a recruiter, and then all of a sudden somebody that I worked with in the past said, I just got this really nice note, and Sarah from Sarah, immediately you're the first resume I'm looking at over the 100 resumes of the database.
Yeah, totally agree with that, Brian. One thing that I would like to add to all of that is very, very, very occasionally, someone will send me a thank you email after we've had an initial phone conversation. And that really stands out because, as I said, it's very occasional. It does not happen very often. That really resonates. Like, I don't expect it, but when I get it, it's really, really nice. And like Brian said, you can't put enough faith in networking, because networking really, really is a key when you're trying to stand out out of thousands of applicants that are applying for positions.
Yeah. And I'll add to that a little if you guys don't mind, especially with LinkedIn. I recognize that many of you as students might not have a huge network on LinkedIn yet, but you might have second connections with people, right? Somebody older than you is working at a company that maybe you're interested in. And, as Brian was saying, tap on them for that second connection to maybe make another connection. Or if you see somebody, who comes across LinkedIn and you're following their posts and they sound really interesting, maybe strike up a chat, right? Maybe send them a message and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Can we talk for a few minutes? If you're local, could we meet for coffee? You would maybe this might surprise some of you, but people that are in management, in executive positions and in management positions, they seem really busy. They really enjoy taking the time to mentor someone, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to answer a couple of questions and to say, hey, here's what I would suggest, or here's what I would do. So don't be afraid to ask those second connections for, hey, I have a quick question, or hey, would love to know more about what you do or what this means, or, something like that. Engage with them. If you engage with something that they are posting about, you're very likely to get a response from them. So I would definitely encourage that as a way to start expanding your network on LinkedIn. We got a really great question here in the chat. Maybe what are some of the daily typical tasks of an intern in your organization? Holly, let's start with you.
Sure. So our entire company is run on the Agile process. So and when we bring internships into our organization for the summer, they are literally a part of our team. We don't view them as, people who are just here for the summer. They really are part of our team, with the understanding that they're younger in their career and they're going to need mentorship and want mentorship. But they are part of our Agile team. So a typical day might start off with a stand-up. A lot of you have probably had courses in computer science that talk about the Agile process. So one of the first things that we do is we have like a 15-minute stand-up every morning and just discuss where we are, where we're going, what needs to be done, that sort of thing. Every 2 weeks, there is what's called a sprint planning meeting. And that's a longer meeting that will dictate sort of the roadmap of where your application or where your project is going. And it also helps with assigning roles and responsibilities to people that they'll be responsible for during that 2-week session. And then, a lot of it is going out from those planning sessions and working on the tasks that they have been assigned. We do have tickets through a JIRA ticketing system that people will be able to keep track of what they're supposed to be doing and what they're responsible for. Most of it involves coding. I mean, it is very much an engineering based internship, internships that we have here. So a lot of coding. Our main language that we use is Python. So having strong Python is important. But also, when you are interning at Expedition, you're paired with an experienced engineer, and that engineer might only have maybe 2 or 3 years experience, but they have been at Expedition for long enough to know how things go and how we work. And as Brian said, it is one of the best things that we look forward to all year is welcoming our new interns to our team, because everyone really enjoys helping the next generation of engineers and technologists get to the next level and satisfy their career desires. So, but and we also have a lot of learning sessions at Expedition. So there are brown bags during lunches that interns get to attend. They might talk about more in depth on machine learning, for example, or more in depth on the agile development process. So we have different topics that we talk about a lot. Interns also get to attend our technical exchange meetings where people that are working on a program will present and highlight achievements or just talk about the problem that they're how they have gone about working on a solution for that. Obviously, we have to keep everything unclass during those presentations, but interns get to do, attend those just as much as regular Expedition Technology employees do as well. But in short, we make our interns part of our team. You have an actual role in the team that you're working on. You have deliverables that you're responsible for, and of course, you get help and mentorship in doing them. But as an intern, you're not just getting us coffee. You are definitely working in a real world situation. And we always solicit feedback from our interns after the end of each intern program. And by far, the most prevalent comment we get is, I learned more this summer than I have in all my classes in college. Because when you actually get to put your knowledge that you've learned in school to work, the learning just becomes astronomical. You're muted.
Holly, that was a wonderful response. 1,000% with you on our investment for next generation of innovators. And one thing that you shared there that is a big part of our DNA too is every intern's really working on meaningful work. I mean, this is real world opportunities, problems, challenges that's facing our nation. And it is not administrative in nature. So I guess just a real quick response here, Sarah. CACI, we have a roughly 10 to 12 week internship program that runs in the summer. We do have internship opportunities year round, although our main program's in the summer. So when you're a part of that, you're a part of a larger cohort of interns that are across the country. We have internships nationwide. Northern Virginia is our largest area of interns, but it goes all the way across the United States. As part of that, we have weekly learning seminars. So there'll be a special topic, whether it be machine learning, spectrum management, cyber, etc. We also do courses like, we actually have a training session on security clearances and on resume writing, etc. We celebrate National Intern Day. There's a lot of social events. We do stuff like on Teams. We do like snack chats where you can team up with other interns and learn about them. We have little communities of interns that all go to the same school together. So it's been a really positive program. So big picture, you're part of CACI. All interns are having a meaningful experience and you're learning and having a fun experience. Day-to-day items, it really depends on the program, but what I would say is that most of our interns that come in, we're looking for folks who are you're going to get a well-rounded experience. So, like, to highlight one of our teams, we would ask you to come in thinking like an adversary, to be either an external actor or an insider threat, right? So this is more on the red team penetration testing side of things, where you would come in, you'd be a part of capture the flag challenges. You would create infrastructure to support pen testing and projects. You would start to understand adversarial tools, techniques, procedures. You'd have the opportunity to study embedded Internet of Things devices. You would learn how to configure virtual machines and virtual networks. You would leverage your software development background. So it would be part learning, it'd be part kind of seeing what area is of your interest the most. Meanwhile, working in a team environment where you have the support to learn and be mentored, and then really help you identify your specific area of career path.
Great. Thank you so much for the insight on those. Those sound like better internships than I had when I was in college. I definitely had an administrative one, and it was not a lot of fun. So that sounds like a lot more fun.
Same.
I'm going to get to some of the questions in the chat here. Some of them have kind of a similar theme, and that is advice for what looks like to be students who are here on like a student visa, or who are, maybe have a green card. So students that are not U.S. citizens. Any advice for them on internships, whether in your organization, or if any general advice on internships for foreign students?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I would say stay encouraged, stay persistent. There's a lot of opportunities out there. One really good site to use is Indeed. We haven't talked about that at all today, but Indeed, it's an aggregator, so it scrapes all jobs for free from all sites. So it's a great one-stop shop for you to kind of go out and look for opportunities. I hit on this a little bit earlier, but my number one recommendation would be is just read the job description. The job description will often share, what are the requirements of the role. If it's not clear, right, then that's where it goes back to the networking part of this, where it's, okay, I'm interested in this opportunity. I need to learn more. Who do I know? Who can I connect with? So there certainly are opportunities. I just, for some roles, you just have to understand that if U.S. citizenship is required as a hard requirement per a contractual requirement, that may not be the right opportunity.
Yeah, I'll also agree with Brian in terms of everything he said. I would also, and I will second Indeed as well. I wrote it Indeed.com in the chat. Because it is an aggregator, and you will find opportunities that are outside defense and intelligence, which, for example, for expedition technology, we are only defense and intelligence. And so we unfortunately don't have opportunities for people who are not US citizens. However, there are still companies locally who deal in the federal civilian market or FedCiv market that can be a little more lenient about hiring people that are not US citizens. There is a stage, and I might give it the wrong name, but there's a stage in your student visa. It's called a TN visa. No, I'm sorry. It's a practical training visa. TN is for Canadian citizens. But anyway, there is a practical training or F1 visa that students that are not citizens can obtain to get practical training, meaning they can work in the country legally under that visa. And I would suggest aiming for companies who are not within the DoD and intelligence community, because you're probably going to find the same answer in terms of citizenship requirements in those companies. But there are a lot of companies out there. Amazon has a huge, just regular industry presence, and they don't require security clearances. Google, same. Google has committed to not working with defense. So, there are definitely companies in the industry sector that would be open and willing to hire interns that are not U.S. citizens. And I just also want to make an apology for myself and Brian that I feel so badly when I see such a qualified resume that we can't bring on board or we can't talk to because of that. I feel badly about that. It's not that we want to rule people out, it's that contractually, as Brian said, we are obligated to only hire US citizens.
Thank you. Somebody asked a question about internship opportunities for graduate students. Is it okay to apply for a summer internship while doing my master's? So a lot of times I think we focus on undergraduates, but what about master's students?
Absolutely. We will hire, we target either third-year students, so students who are going into their senior year of college, or people who are going into their last year of graduate school. So the summer between the time when you're going to be finished with your work, we would definitely hire a graduate student for a summer internship.
Yeah, 100% here too. We folks, students who do co-ops. We have some students who are working at school at undergraduate or graduate in a kind of a part-time on-call capacity. So we really work closely with individuals on, perhaps there's 1 month where based off your schedule, you have a lot of availability. And then there's other months that you go, now's not the time, I'm studying for finals. Like, your education's the most important. I'd also share that what we also see is that we have interns who graduate undergrad, join us full time, and then leverage our $12,000 per year educational benefit that they then put towards their post undergrad. And then totally different topic, but just wanted to give a shout out to everybody out there. I've just got about 20 LinkedIn invites from the audience. So way to go.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left. There's a couple of questions still in the chat that I want to get to somewhat quickly and then give a chance for kind of last thoughts. Somebody asked the question about, from a recruiter's perspective, when applicants get ghosted. Can you talk about why this might happen?
So there's actually a question that was in the interviewer prep packet that said, what are the worst parts of your job? And, one of the worst parts of job for me specifically is telling someone no. I hate doing it. It makes me feel bad. But in terms of ghosting, it is much better to give someone that feedback than leave them hanging and not give any feedback at all. And I will speak for some people in the talent acquisition profession that are not good at getting back to people. And for that, I apologize. We try very, very hard to circle back with people, especially people that we've actually talked with. Also, everyone who applies for a position at our company does get a response from our system that we have received your application. But if we have taken the time to talk with you, we do everything in our power to make sure that we circle back with everyone and not leave people hanging. That is the worst. It's unprofessional, and it makes all of us look bad when when that happens. So and sometimes it is unavoidable because we've been talking about how many resumes we get. It is very hard to, talk directly to everyone, but we do the very best that we can. And, we do our best.
Brad, I have a question for you from the chat. somebody is asking about, they have work experience. They have a project management certification and a background in IT. Is it easy to pivot into a more technical role if they come in as a project manager? So in CACI, there's probably a lot more positions like that. So I wonder, how much do you see people transitioning from kind of project management to more technical role, or vice versa?
I think all things are possible. So I see it really work on both sides. I see a lot of technical individual contributor roles who grow and emerge into leadership and project management. And then I see project managers who then move in to more technical roles. The challenge sometimes becomes like a pay discrepancy. You may have done really well in one kind of career path, and now you're wanting to take a little bit of a step back to be able to take a step forward. That's really where, I think talking with a recruiter or your hiring manager or somebody, who you want to, that you're working with, to really look at your individual situation. Please reach out to me one-on-one LinkedIn. Happy to take this conversation a little deeper.
Great. Thank you. All right. We've got 2 minutes left. I'll give you each a little bit of time for your final thoughts. Holly, we'll start with you.
Sure. So first of all, I just put my LinkedIn information in the chat, so please feel free to connect with me. Also, take a look at the summer internships we have posted, and if you are interested, please go ahead and apply. As Brian said, it would be a good idea to mention to me via LinkedIn that you've applied for the position. I will look for you specifically, and also definitely attend the career fair later today, because I'll be online, as will my colleague CACI. We both fill the same positions at Expedition. I'm sure Brian will be around, or have representatives around as well. And I wish you the very best of luck in your career search. And I also know, and I sympathize, that sometimes most of the time, the hardest step is getting that first opportunity. And once you land that first opportunity, the limit. So as Brian mentioned earlier, be persistent, be patient, don't get discouraged, keep fighting the good fight, so to speak, and keep applying for those jobs, and it will happen.
Thank you, Holly. Brian?
Thank you so much for having me today. I also wish everybody the absolute best. Have a plan, stay engaged, shoot for your A opportunity. If A opportunity is not working out from a timing perspective, start thinking about what option B looks like. But just, again, stay encouraged. You all, I know, have great academic backgrounds, and companies will be fortunate to have the opportunity to work with you.
Well, great. Thank you, Holly and Brian, for joining us this morning. I really appreciate your time and all of your insights. Everybody, I appreciate all of you joining us as well this morning, and for all of your wonderful questions. Don't forget, the internship and career fair continues on after this. So you go back into the lobby, and then you can pop into the different virtual booths and talk to recruiters. We've got, I think, 20 companies represented today. So very excited to have you all. Thank you again. And good luck. Take care.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.